Hello everybody and welcome back. I'm excited to be here to share with you the week 2 challenge for the industrial grunge kit that I've released this April. With this challenge I also have 4 freebies, so 4 pages for you. You can find them either in the Non-Stop Papercrafts Facebook group or on my Ko-fi page. I will have everything obviously linked down below for you. So before I get into the challenge, I'll just show you the freebies. So as I said, there are 4 pages. The first one is this one. So again, nice and grungy. We've got lots of cogs and pipes and all sorts of mechanical things going on, but a very busy page. We've then got one that is much more muted, but still again has a lot going on. But what I love about this is it's still light enough that you can write in areas. But we've got different modes of transport, lots of kind of rusty tickets and panels and things on there. Then we've got just a normal grungy backing page. So this one's very plain, but great for backing those more busier pages. And then lastly, we have this one. So we've got, again, transports. We've got a big truck here. Again, we've got some different mechanisms going on down the bottom as well. But yeah, a very kind of grungy industrial type freebie page. So those 4, as I said, will be found in my Facebook group or on my Ko-fi page. You can download from either, it doesn't matter. And they are going to be very useful either in your journal if you're making a journal and using the main kit as well, or for this project this week. So I thought it would be fun to do a kind of happy mail envelope. Now this particular make is based on a project I did a couple of years ago now. I had this follower who was an absolutely lovely lady. She was a fabulous supporter and she quite often sent me a few bits of happy mail. So if I'd mentioned in a video, oh, wouldn't it be cool to try this? She would be sending me some happy mail so that I could try whatever it was that I had said. So really lovely. So as a thank you, I knew it was her birthday in February. So I decided to send her a happy mail. And I did it kind of Edith Holden style using some Edith Holden pages that I had. And lots of people asked for a tutorial on that, and I never really got round to making one. So I thought, well, this is kind of along the same kind of lines. The base certainly is what I did. How you embellish this is totally up to you. You can also play around with the size of this. The one I'm making today, I am making to fit my lap book that I'm creating with my industrial grunge kit, but you can absolutely have a play around with the sizes. Essentially what we are making, if I get rid of all of these pieces, is just a kind of box style envelope. So it's going to have a kind of thin gusset all the way around, but it is essentially an envelope that will look like this and will have different bits opening up where we can fit all sorts of different things. Now this is my prototype. I will plan to kind of round corners and things like that. I haven't done that yet. But this is just to kind of give you the measurements and to show you roughly what it is that we are making. As I said, mine's on the smaller side because this is going into my lap book, so I didn't want anything too huge, but you can play around with the size of this. So to make the size that I am making today, you will need, I suggest a piece of card, whether that's 12 by 12 scrapbook paper that's of a good thickness. I'm actually using a file folder, but it needs to be 12 inches by 10 3/4 inches. So that's the kind of size that it needs to be. You do need some smaller pieces as well, but I'll go through those when we get to that part. So I'm just going to move this over. Now I have my file folder, and as you can see, I've kind of cut it down to size. So I've got my 12 inches wide and it is 10 3/4 tall, so that's why I've chopped this bit off. I've made it so that this flap on my file folder will be this kind of top bit here. So as you can see, that fits on there, and that's going to be my top bit. I do still need to score in my gusset, but I'll do that in a moment. But my file folder wasn't tall enough for me to get this piece out of that one section, so I used the fold that was already in there to kind of measure it so that I've got my top flap. I do hope that makes sense. Like I said, if you've got a 12 by 12 piece of paper, then it's really easy because you just cut it to 12 by 10 3/4. But because I wanted to use this file folder because it's the right kind of colour for my lap book, that's why I've decided to use this. So let's start with some different scoring. Now, because this is already going this way, I'm actually going to fold it round, because where you make a score line, that's you're supposed to fold it the opposite way. So I'm going to have it facing down, and what you need to do is you are going to come in 2 1/4 inches, and you're going to do a score line all the way down. So this is along the 12-inch side. You can see it goes up to 12 inches, 2 1/4. You're going to score all the way down the bottom of your project. I don't know if you can see the bottom. You can, but then you miss the measurements. So I'm going to bring that back down. So at 2 1/4, score all the way down. Okay, you're then going to come in 1/4 inch and also score all the way down. Okay, then from the other side, so from the 12-inch side, you're going to come in 2 1/4 and score all the way down, and then you're going to come over again 1/4 inch and also score all the way down. Okay, so essentially what we've made there are these score lines here for the gusset for these 2 flaps. Okay, you're then going to rotate it so that it's 10 3/4. So we're now doing it this way. So obviously, as I've said, this has already created this score line, so I need to create this one 1/4 inch long. So this is currently at the 8 1/2. I need to come over 1/4 inch. Oh no, not 8 1/2, is it? Sorry. Oh, I think mine's slightly over. Hang on a second. Okay, so if that's 10 3/4, sorry, your first score line to make the top part of your envelope, you should be scoring at 8 1/4. Obviously, I've already got my fold in there. The next one then should be at 8 1/2, and then you want to score all the way down. Okay, so that's where you want to score. So 8 1/4, 8 1/2. Then to do the bottom part, so that's this part. To do the bottom, you then want to come in, and I'm just going to check it on this one. So you want to come in at 3 1/2. Yep. You want to come in at 3 1/2. Again, we're going to go all the way down. And then 1/4 inch. Okay, so I hope that made sense. I know I did kind of mess it up because I don't think mine is, no, I'm literally an 1/8 inch out on mine, but I did move it over for you. So you should have score lines at 3 1/2, 3 3/4. You should then have one, if I get this back to where it should be, at 8 1/4 and then 8 1/2. That's where your score line should be along that side. So now it kind of looks a little bit checkered like this. You're going to grab your scissors, and we are essentially cutting out each of the corner panels. So we are cutting out the score lines as well. We don't need that gusset obviously down the bottom. So you're going to cut up, and you want to cut past the score line, and then this way here. So on this bit you can see I've got my score line there, my score line there, so I've cut the whole thing out. I'm going to do that again up at the top. So I'm going to cut along. For me it's the natural fold that's in the file folder anyway. So I'm going to cut along there and then cut down. Okay, so this is the shape that you end up with. Then all you've got to do is just fold it along those score lines. So as I said, this one already has that flap, so it's just that second score line that I've got to fold along. Now I do realise that this has holes in. That's not going to be a problem because I will be covering this with some papers from the kit anyway, so it doesn't matter. But then yeah, you just literally go along and fold along each of those score lines. Okay, and then you should hopefully have that kind of boxed envelope that has a little 1/4 of an inch gusset all the way around. Right, I'm going to get rid of the scoreboard because we don't need that anymore. Okay, so now that we've got this, we now have the fun part, which is the decorating and deciding what you want to do. So I am going to put a policy closure on here. You can then plan out however you want to kind of fill the inside. So as I said, I planned this to be a happy mail. So when I did the Edith Holden one, I kind of filled it with all different kind of pockets. I think there was even a journal that I'd tucked in there. So that's when the gusset was quite nice. I did make a little journal that I tucked in the bottom in this part. But I also had different pockets and things along the side with different little bits of ephemera that the lady could use for journaling. So it makes a great little fun happy mail. As I said, I'm using it in my lap book. So what I'm going to do, I've got these little coin envelopes which actually fit quite nicely in here. I am going to cover them with my papers, but I was thinking of putting 2 of them in there. I've then cut, so this is when you're going to need some smaller pieces. So I use the offcut from my file folder, but if you've got any of these offcuts, you can use those as well. I've got 2 of these, so they are both 3 1/4 inches wide. This one is 2 1/4 inches tall. This one is 3 inches tall. And what I'm going to do is layer them along the bottom, and I'm going to put tabs on them so it kind of looks like tabbed pockets, and they're going to run along the bottom. Originally I was thinking of having pockets this way round, but then I thought as soon as you lift this up, if it's too loose, anything's going to end up falling out. So I'm going to put them sideways and have tab pockets that are going that way. So at least when it lifts up, nothing falls out. I've then cut these, and I've put the measurement on one of them. It's 2 1/4 wide by 1 1/2 inches tall. And these are going to go on these panels here. So I'm going to have one on each side, and they're just going to be pockets for something tall. I haven't decided what yet. Maybe like a little thin bookmark or a tag or something to go in there. And then, as I said, I'm going to have those 2 pockets going on there, and then it's just about decorating. So first things first, I'm going to do my papers and get this covered. I also want to round some of these corners. So I'm just going to grab my corner rounder. And I like to do the widest curve when I'm doing envelope closures, so it looks more envelope-like. I am going to round these ones as well, actually. So that's those. Because they're rounded, I kind of feel like I want to round these as well. However, not quite like that one. So I may just go with the 4. Let's see what the 4 looks like. Yeah. So I'm going to do that on these. Okay, so that's those done. Right, so now to start picking out the papers. So we've got these. Now, for me, I don't need to worry about decorating the back because this is getting stuck into my lap book. So the only bits that I need to worry about are what you're going to see here and then the inside. Now, I'm not going to cover every single panel only because this is a nice kind of grungy colour, so it goes really nicely with my lap book, so I'm not bothered about covering all of it. What I'm probably going to do is cover these outside pieces. The pockets here are going to be covered with my papers. The pockets along the bottom are going to be covered with the papers. And then obviously the two envelopes here are also going to be covered with the papers. So I'm thinking, I mean, I may actually cover this back panel just to kind of help reinforce and hide those holes. But yeah, these I'm not going to back. This I'm not going to back because the pockets will be decorated. Yeah, so it's just going to be these panels. So I need to decide what I would like on the front. See, I do like the car, but I think the car would make more sense if you can actually see the car. So I don't think that one's going to be particularly helpful for this part. So I'm just going to move that out the way. I do like this one. So maybe I'll use that one for the front. Then I can have these on the inside. So I'm thinking I might have this as the backing paper and then this one for each of the pockets. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Let's start then. Let's start inside for a moment then. So I'm just going to trim the edges of this. So let's move these pieces out of the way for a moment. I'm just going to get rid of those white edges first, because obviously we don't want those. Oh. Right, okay, let's get rid of all this rubbish. Right, it seems to be crashing into everything today. Right, so this is going to go on here. So obviously I want it just inside the score lines because I do not want it interfering with the score lines, and then I can't close it up. So let's just grab a pencil. So I need to cut it about there. And about there. Right, let's trim that then. Okay, so that's the panel, just double checking. Excellent. So let's get some ink. Now, as I said, the fun thing about these is you can do whatever you like with them. It does not have to be grungy. You do not need to be using my kit, unless of course you're taking part in the challenge. Then yes, using the freebies or the kit helps, because I do a prize drawing at the end of the month for those that kind of join in with the challenges. But yeah, obviously you can make these at any time to send to anyone. So that's going to go on there. So yeah, let's get that stuck down. So I was just trying to think, do I need to think about anything else? But I think that back panel I'm fine with. There we go. Sometimes that glue does get a little bit clogged, just the nozzle. It's only because I lost the original pin that came with it. It was a really nice long pin, so obviously it clears all the way down when you put it in, but I've lost it. I have no idea where it's gone. I think it must have been on my desk, and then where I've kind of swept up a load of rubbish, I've obviously picked it up with it and I've chucked it out. That's the only thing I can think of. So yeah. Right, so that goes on that back panel. Like so. Then what did we say? We've got these envelopes. So I think for these I might use the same as what I'm using for the cover here. So I'm going to do the cover first. Yeah, I think I'll do the cover first. I'm going to move that out of the way. Again, I'm just going to chop off all the white bits. Everything is rolling around on my desk today. See, normally I've got a really messy desk and nothing has any room to roll around. But I had a good tidy up because I did my craft room tour video, which many of you have already seen. So obviously everything had to be neat and tidy for that. Some of you may know that I'm selling my house, so we've had some viewing. So again, I've had to have a bit of a tidy room. So yeah, so now I've had a tidy up, things have got room to roll around. Right, okay, so that's that trimmed down. Let's get rid of those. And let's bring this back in. Right, so I think I want where it says license definitely on the front here. So I'm just going to measure it this way only because it is easier. So again, I want to come just inside the score line, which is there. And I do appreciate that it's probably difficult for you to see where I'm kind of making pencil marks, but so long as I can see them to be able to cut. And about there. Right, so hopefully, if I have measured correctly, that should fit on there. Yeah, I probably need to just cut a teeny little slither off, but we're pretty much there. So I'm just going to round those corners. And then I'm going to cut off that teeny tiny slither. Again, I'm going to do some inking. Now, I have to say, I am absolutely blown away by how many of you took on the first challenge, because it wasn't an easy one, and it was actually a challenge for me. Challenge number one, in case you've missed it, was to make a tunnel tag. Now, you may be familiar with the tunnel books that people make. They are absolutely brilliant. I'm in absolute awe of those people that do make tunnel books, because you've got to think a few steps in advance to kind of plan out where all of your pieces are going. So I set the challenge of us doing a tunnel tag last week, and my goodness, did everybody bring it. It was absolutely brilliant seeing what everybody had created and how they had interpreted it as well. The way that they've done their tunnels, the different elements that they've used. People were adding lots of their kind of metal embellishments that they had at home already. Yeah, people are really kind of embracing the challenges, which was good. And I do appreciate, like I said, that last week's one was a challenge. Like I said, it was a challenge for me too. I'm hoping this week's is quite a nice fun one, making like a Happy Mail envelope. Like I said, it doesn't have to be a Happy Mail envelope. You can use it in your own projects, but it was just inspired by a Happy Mail envelope that I had created for someone. Right, so we've got that. Obviously this should be wide enough because it's the same thing to go on there. So let's figure this out. Yeah, so it's not actually going to matter, because obviously this bit would be attached here, but it's got to move up anyway. So it's not going to matter whether I'm doing it from the top or the bottom. So I'm just going to do it from the bottom just because it's easier. I know that it's the right width, so I just need the right height. So I'm just going to make a little pencil mark about there, and that's where I need to chop it off. Right, where'd that pencil mark go? There. Right, so again, snipping off the corners. And some inking. Yeah, I hope you guys do enjoy this challenge. As I said, make it your own. You do not have to have the same kind of pockets and things going on the inside that I have. You can add more layers, more pockets, more flip outs. You can, yeah, go to town with this. Yeah, I just am keeping this a little bit basic. There are other things that I'm possibly going to put into it when it's inside my lap book, but you'll kind of see that as you see my lap book progressing. But the lap book I'm making isn't as large as my detective one. It's a little bit smaller, which is why I've made this a reasonably small size. The Edith Holden one that I made of this was a lot larger. I say a lot larger, it wasn't like huge or anything, but it was, yeah, certainly sort of like bigger than this, because like I said, it did have a mini journal inside as well, tucked in. Right, okay, so that's that. So I wasn't going to cover this panel because it's going to have two pockets which are also then going to be covered. Or do I cover this bit and the first pocket, and then the next pocket is this colour? Is that how I'm going to do it? Okay, I'll have a think about that. What I was thinking though is these, I obviously wanted to put in this, didn't I? Just so it kind of links those together. So let's have a look. No, that's going to be too thin. But I have got this. I could do it that way. Yeah, luckily with this one it doesn't really matter what direction it's going in, because it doesn't really mean anything anyway. So I do like this bit at the bottom, so I do want that bit. And I know you probably can't see it, so I'm just going to slot that in. Oh, she says, but she can't get in herself. There we go. So So you may not be able to see, but this does actually have a kind of little V shape. So I'm going to have to think about that when I'm doing this as well. So kind of want it to there. And then obviously it's going to V in a little bit. So up until about there. And then obviously I want the same for the next envelope. So that's till about there. Actually, I quite like this section. Let's go with that one so it's not all too samey. Right, okay, so first of all I want to cut the height. Then we have that pencil mark. So that's going to fit on there. Brilliant. Right, next one. I've got that pencil mark, and then I wanted to kind of cut it off about there. So there are my scraps. This bit can then go there. So next thing, I'm going to turn it backwards. I'm going to slot that in if I can. Right, just going to pull it up very, very slightly. Right, and then I'm going to draw that way. Take this out. One's obviously a tad wider than the other. Let's make them both the same, shall we? Right, and then I'm going to follow that pencil line. Like so. Let's have a look. Well, it's not perfect, but it's not bad either. Right, so let's give those a little bit of an ink. I've lost my dabber. Told you things are rolling away. Rolling away. One. Two. Right, so let's stick those down. Okay, there's that one. And that one. So they're going to get stuck in there, and obviously those bits will fold down, and then things can be put in those pockets. Just trying to think, do I want to? I'm just going to grab my crocodile. I'll be back in just a second. Right, okay, so I was just having a little look to see how well this fits in here, because I want to be able to just pop some eyelets in just to kind of give it a little bit of something. So I'm just going to go as far as I can down the side of the envelope. I'm going to come up a little bit and do another one. No idea if these are lined up. Oh, kind of. Right, so that's those. I'll try and do the same on this one. But this time I'll do them in different places. So I'll put that one on that side and maybe this one over on that side, just so again it's a little bit different. Let's get rid of those. Let's find some eyelets. So I've got some black ones here, that'll do. Which way round? That way round. Yep, awesome. There we go, that's better. Right, so that's going to go on there. Just gives it a little bit of something, I think. Oh no, it's got a little bit of a punch in it. I might have to reinforce that, maybe put something on that. Right, let's do these ones. I wonder if that's what it was. It's caught when I'm setting the eyelet. I think this one must have caught one of the other punches. That's what I've done. That's fine. We can cover it with paper. Right, so that's those. Right, so where were we? So I think we're going to cover these with paper, weren't we? Just so. I don't know, I quite like them like that though. Okay, so I don't have any industrial washi tape, but I've got this one, which again is brown. So I'm just going to cover it up with washi. And it kind of covers that gummy bit as well, which is obviously where you would seal it. Whoops. And then just for good measure, I'm going to put some along the fold as well. So it now looks like that. That's okay, excellent. Right, we'll copy that again then. So that's just to cover up the gummy bit. And then we'll put a little bit along the fold, because these are quite thin envelopes. And that just reinforces the folds a little bit as well. Excellent. Trim, trim, trim. Right, awesome. So that's that one. So those are going to get stuck down there. I might still put a closure on them, but I'm not sure yet. So we'll just leave those there. Then I was going to leave these as they were, and it was these that I was going to cover, wasn't it? And I was going to use this page to cover it. Yeah, and I'm thinking for my pockets I'm going to do what I said. So I'm going to have one pocket that's covered, one that's this colour, and then the back end is going to be this. So again, I'm just going to trim off the white bits first. So move the folder out the way. Although I do still have this one, so do I have one of those, one of those, one of those? Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover the first and last section, and then I'll decide after that if I'm going to put that in the middle or not. I'll see how it looks, because I think it might be too much because it's up there. Yeah, I probably won't use that. We'll use that for something else. Oh, maybe the tabs, because I want to create tabs, don't I? Right, so this one I'm not covering, so I'm going to move that out of the way before I really get muddled and confused, which is absolutely a possibility. So I'm going to put this on. Now this obviously does not need to come the full length of the bottom of the envelope because I'm going to have my pockets, but it needs to come far enough that you obviously can't see anything. So I'm going to come about halfway, because I know my pockets are definitely going to come halfway. And then I'm going to go up to that score line, and that's where I'm going to draw my mark here, because that's where I know the paper needs to be. Right, so let's trim those bits down. Okay, suddenly got too much stuff on my desk. Fair enough. One thing that doesn't really need to be here, I've got an Easter egg that I have been nibbling on. Right. So that bit's going to go there, so I can round that corner and I can give that a good ink. Excellent. Don't need to ink this side because you're not going to see that side. That's going to get stuck on there. I'm then going to have potentially this one with no covering, and then this one with a covering. Just thinking I need to take a teeny little slither off of that one. Okay, and where's my other piece gone? Aha, because it all blends in, I can't see anything anymore. Right, I'm going to move those out of the way before I ruin those. This then needs to be covered. Can't tell if this has a direction or not. Did that come off of that one? Oh no, that was underneath, wasn't it? Okay, so it goes that way up. So that's going that way. Right. So I can cut that bit off. And that bit off. Right, so we've got that bit. This bit's going to go on there. Nope, haven't even got the right way up, might help. And then this bit, I'm going to have to round the corner on this one because obviously I've rounded the corner here. But I'm just going to just stick it down first because then I can ink it all together as well. So my cutting wasn't absolutely fantastic, was it? There we go. So that's going to go on there. This needs to be rounded. And the whole thing needs to be inked. Excellent. Right, so we've got that, got this in the middle. Yeah, I think I might go with that, and then I'm going to use this one maybe then for the tabs. Or do I want to use this for the tabs? Yeah, I think I might use that for the tabs actually. Okay, so I've got this tab punch that I'm going to use. I mean, this does punch really huge tabs, but that's fine. So that's that one. Okay, so I'm going to fold those in half. And then we can kind of have a look how they're going to look. So if that one's on there, whoops. And that one's on there. So it's going to look something like that. Yeah, I'm quite happy with that. Right, so let's ink those, and then I won't cover this one. I'll keep that one as it is. I quite like it like that. So let's start sticking stuff down. Oh, actually, before I do the pockets, I need to do the policy closure. So I'm going to stick this in first. No, because that might interfere with the policy closure. I won't stick that in first. Right, policy closure. Let's do that. And for that, I might use this one. So let's have a look. So this whole thing is 7 inches, isn't it? So with my pencil, whoops, half of 7 inches is obviously 3.5. So about there. So coming down here, if this is 7 inches, we want 3.5, which is about there. That's where I'm going to pop my thingamabobbies. What I'm also going to do is, with some spare file folder, I'm going to punch some circles. Well, actually I might stick that on first and then punch some circles out of that, just to kind of make them a little bit more sturdy. So this is obviously just some leftover file folder. and for the policy closure, I'm going to use the same brads that I used on my cover of my lap book, so these screw ones. And to punch it out, I'm just going to use my 1-inch circle punch. I don't think it needs to be any bigger than that. So I'm just going to punch those out. It is going to be rather stiff because right, so ink around those. And I'm going to use my smallest hole because it only needs to fit a brad. Right, so that's those. Okay, so I do need to poke the holes obviously in here. I'm going to use a pokey tool for that just because it's easier. Right, so I'm putting that in there. I'm not putting the brad down too far because I need to obviously be able to get a string underneath, so I'm just being mindful that it's not pushed all the way down. I'm then going to do the same at the bottom. Lost my brad. Okay, so that's going to go there. Right, to stop these, whoops, to stop these from going anywhere, I'm just going to pop a little bit of tape down over the top of them. That stops things from getting caught on them as well. Right, so now we can start sticking these bits down. Just to kind of add to it again, want to add some brads, not brads, eyelets. So again, adding eyelets is completely optional, but I just think it makes it look a little bit fun. Right, okay. Something like that. Right, let's get those stuck down. Right, so I'm going to leave that to dry before I start putting things inside pockets. So that's how that's looking. So that leaves us then with putting our envelopes back in here. Need to put the pockets on the side and cover this top part up here. Right, okay, so I've just snipped down into my envelopes a little bit further, just because I thought once something's in there I need it to be able to be a little bit easier to kind of grab what's in there. I haven't stuck them down yet though, I will do that in just a moment. But obviously we want to work on these bits here. So we've got these little pockets that are going to get stuck in there, but they need to be covered first. And we were going to do that with these, and I think I'm also going to use this paper to cover up the top here to kind of obviously hide that. So I think I might do that bit first actually. So again, I'm just going to move these envelopes just so they don't keep getting crushed, and then I'm just going to line this up with the top. Again, just coming up to that score line. And then how wide does it need to be? About there. Okay, so that's going to go there. So we need to round those corners again. And ink. Beginning to think I had it upside down there, but I didn't. I was looking at the tray, but obviously this is going on the inside, so that is the right way up. So that's going to go there. So let's glue that down. And then that just obviously hides that hideous piece. And I'm just going to line that up. And to press it down, I'm bringing it round this way, only because it's hard to press down, obviously, with that brad there. So that's then like that, and it, like I said, just hides that up the top. Right, so these 4 pieces all need that same piece, don't they? So what colour is that? No, we don't want that one. So I think I'm just going to turn it over. Oops. Some of that leftover masking tape stuck to it. And I think I'm just going to stick them all down and kind of see where we get. So we've got these that we need to stick down. Right, so I'm thinking just for some effect I might have little bits of cheesecloth coming out certain areas. just because I love me some cheesecloth. Now, I don't want it obviously loads and loads, but just a little bit here and there is fine. So something like that. So that's my 2 envelopes there. So they close. We've got pockets, pockets, pockets all over the place. So let's have a look. Let's use this as a bit of an example. So we've got a pocket underneath that file folder. We've got a pocket under there which looks again like a file tab. We've then got pockets on each of these flaps. And then obviously we've got our 2 main envelopes as well. So you could fill this up with so many different goodies. I'm just going to put a pin back in my glue before I forget and it all dries out, since I think we're finished gluing now. Yeah, so as I was saying, you can put so many different goodies in here. As I said, when I made my original one, which was kind of like an Edith Holden theme, it just had lots of different bits of ephemera that could be used in a journal. Now I'm not going to fill this with bits yet for this video, only because obviously this is going in my lap book, so I'll have different bits for my lap book that I'm creating that will go in here. But essentially those bits will close around there, this bit will lift up, that bit comes down, and then I just need to get some string to put around this. So let's go and grab that. So I'm going to use this black hemp that I've got. And all I do is bring it in, tie it round, and I pop a knot in. I'll then snip this bit off. And then it's kind of personal choice how long or short you want this. So I'm just going to, I think, wrap it around a couple of times. Maybe up one and to the side. Okay, and then there is your little happy mail. I mean, like I said, you could obviously decorate the back. I'm not decorating the back only because this is going to get stuck into my lap book. Well, thank you very much for joining me today. I'm sorry that this video was quite a long one. It's certainly much longer than I usually do. But I hope you've bared with me, stuck to the end, and that you are going to give this challenge a go. As I said at the beginning, you can find my freebies either in the Non-Stop Papercrafts Facebook group or in my Ko-fi shop. And the nice thing about this week's freebies is they could be used for anything. It doesn't have to be for this particular challenge. They are background pages, so they could be used within your journal as well. Also, just a reminder that if you are posting your pictures of your challenge piece, that you are using the hashtag Industrial Grunge, just so it's easy for myself and others to find your projects. Again, I really hope that you've enjoyed this. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next crafty video. Bye for now.